Good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Niraj Shah and I hope all of you are safe and healthy. Let's talk about trade and I'll cut straight to the chase. It's a weekend with a lot of developments and it's a week ahead with a lot of events as well. Let's first focus on what the US markets did on Friday, the handover that we got. And uh, yet again, while individual names in the US market would have done what they would have done, I think if you look at the larger scene, NASDAQ, Dow, S&P, flattish to marginally in the green, about a quarter of a percent higher. Now, it's not that that is really leading to some great cheer for the Asian screen. Frankly, I mean, if you look at just the number of infections and the cases worldwide compared to Asia, I think now people are suddenly maybe led by China, Taiwan, South Korea, etc., and those nations, seemingly that Asia is actually getting a better share of lower subscribers as compared to the rest of the world. I mean, India notwithstanding, therefore, and which is why the Asian stocks outperformance has now begun to show amidst the lower share of the global virus cases. At least it's showing right now. Whether it lasts or not remains to be seen. But you also have to keep in mind, and it's a tweet that let me just try and pull out. It's a tweet that I have put out today, uh, which is right here on my screen. You can log on and try and see. Uh, it's back to social distancing in Hong Kong. Bars are closed. People have been told to work from home. It's a stark reminder that the virus cases and infections can come in waves and lockdowns can happen again as well as we're seeing in India, but now we're starting to see across the world as well. So Asia is a bit soft today, you have to say. I mean, we're waiting for some Chinese data, PMI data, but that notwithstanding, except for Shanghai, almost every other index that I saw is trading in the red. And there's SGX, I mean, OSPI, HSI, ASX, up Straits Times, across the board, we have a bit of red on the screen, 0.5% or thereabouts. And the SGX Nifty too, likely to start off about 0.4% lower. At least that was the last trade that I checked. So you probably have a start which is slightly sluggish in the morning today. Now, what does all of this mean from the trade setup perspective? Frankly, Nifty is appearing sluggish, and further up move is dependent on Reliance and the banking stocks, to be honest. HDFC Bank earnings may help the Nifty bank in early morning trade, so you have to keep that in mind. But that aside, um, it does appear that the Nifty is likely to be a bit sluggish. The other bit is the consumption index, right? Now, if you just look at the derivatives data of ITC, HUL, and some of the other consumer names, that seems to suggest a bit of a long build-up. And you never know, we could actually have a bit of an up move in this index too, because remember, some of these numbers will still look okay. Britannia numbers were rock solid. The commentary from the management and some of the brokerages also is pretty good. So you might actually have the consumer index do rather well. So consumers, IT, specialty chemicals, the spaces that were unaffected, largely unaffected by the lockdowns, and therefore the quarterly earnings numbers might actually be good. So let's wait and watch for what happens there. The derivatives data on some of these, ITC actual in particular, is looking pretty okay. What about earnings today? I think we'll have ACC. No index names today, but ACC. SBI Cards has been on a roll the last few days, and Friday's session too was up and about, and therefore an important set of numbers. And I'll tell you why I've put in Den and in networks in the list of companies. I think the Hathway numbers will show you why Den Networks might be an interesting one to monitor today. But and I'll get to that as well. But the key stocks to watch out for, and Hathway will be one of them. But I have to start with the big boy HDFC Bank. The numbers came out. Now, all of you know the numbers. The numbers were above estimates, led by better top line growth. I think the two things that stood out for me: one, that the corporate loan growth was very strong at 38%, but the retail loan growth has slowed down to 7%. Now, this would mean that there'll be pressure on NIMs in the quarters to come. But the point being that in an in a scenario of the economy not really doing well, if a company is able to show loan growth of 38% on the corporate side, that's pretty strong, isn't it? And therefore, I think this number should cheer the street. The management succession is the key for HDFC Bank, but I think at some point of time, people will say that they know what they're doing, and whoever comes in is okay. Aditya Puri did give a smartly worded answer about a 25 years succession, the contender has 25 years in HDFC Bank, etc. But very difficult to guess who it would be. The moratorium book is under control at 9% as well for HDFC Bank. I reckon this should start off well, and this should cheer not just HDFC Bank, the stock, but the bank Nifty. So watch out for this one. It's just not that convincing that it becomes the stock of the day. It very well could have been really. Vodafone Idea could well turn out to be the stock of the day during the course of the day, because I think one thing happened and one thing will happen today. One, that they've paid a further sum of 1,000 crores to the DOT towards the AGR dues, no doubt keeping in mind the case today as well. They remember the earlier deposit about 6,854 crores in three tranches. But the AGR case hearing is at 2 p.m. today, and I think that's the big thing for Vodafone. So I suspect that Vodafone will start higher, then towards the towards the 2 p.m. deadline or towards the 2 p.m. timeline of the court case, it might start getting a bit sluggish. And then, depending on what the verdict is, if there is a verdict today, and then how good or bad the verdict is, will determine the course of Vodafone Idea, not just Vodafone Idea, even Bharti Airtel, I dare say, to an extent, maybe Jio. But I think Jio and Reliance would largely be unaffected over slightly medium term. Bharti and Vodafone, very, 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 very important. More so for Vodafone Idea, and then therefore the IDFC First Banks and some of the other lenders as well, RBL Bank, for example. I mean, in financial services, more than the numbers, it was the rights issue pricing that has caught everybody's eye, isn't it? The board has approved the 1:1 rights issue. The rights issue price is fixed at 50 rupees per share. That's about a 76% discount to the current market price. I, in my living memory, haven't heard of a rights issue which is priced at such a steep discount from such a large company. Now, the obvious belief might be that, hey, they might not be confident about the subscription. I think there could be more to this. The management will be best placed, and rest assured, we'll try and talk to them during the course of the day. Um, it's difficult to call this one really, and therefore I won't attempt. I think a lot of people have told me that the stock will correct about 10-15%. Some people have told me that this is actually considered a positive in the eventuality, and therefore people, existing shareholders, might find it an attractive pricing. It's just that the pricing is just so low that I would suspect that maybe it could start lower. But I really don't have a handle on this one. I suspect it'll start lower, but better be safe than sorry. Hathway Cable, the numbers looked okay. The net profit at 65 crores versus a loss of 9.7 crores. Margins at 28% versus 20%. Broadband revenue up about 9%. Remember, the margins got a bump up because other expenses, interest costs, all of that came off. But all of that is a net positive, right? Because you get a headline number, the margins are good, and you should be happy. And which is why I was saying I put Den Networks in the results important list today as well. Because after Hathway's numbers, eyes would be out on Den. I suspect Hathway could do well. I suspect Den in the anticipation would do well. So do watch out for that entire list of names. They could be very active. I will watch out for three names: Britannia, Granules, and Glenmark. Britannia, the management committee is very bullish. Brokerages like JP Morgan have raised the target price to 4,300. Motilal Oswal kept subdued as well. Valuations are rich, but I think that there is this growth out here, and the market might realize that. So watch out for Britannia. Watch out for Granules. Extremely strong commentary on the con call. Brokerages have been very bullish on Granules as well. Motilal Oswal says that there are multiple growth levers as well. Their target price is 315, so that could do well. And Glenmark, I think the DGCA has pulled it up for a cause, and therefore that might be an issue for Glenmark today. So do watch out for all of these three stocks in the session. Last but not the least, what stood out for me, just this, guys. Watch out. Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Pune, the top three IT hubs, are also the top three cities in terms of the largest outstanding personal loans. Therefore, high correlation job growth and loss, and loan growth and NPAs in the personal loan portfolios for Indian banks. Try and do the math. HDFC has appointed 19 merchant banks for mega 14,000 crore fundraise. That's the other interesting bit as well. So lots of things to watch out for in the session today. Have a profitable day ahead. Do watch out for individual names. Do watch out for the bank Nifty. Thanks so much for watching.